Right.
All right.
So we're good. I think we'll keep the lighting on the whole time. But now I have an idea of what it's all looking like. And then,
All right.
okay. Hi guys, thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate it, getting your time out of your regular day as an adult with work and life and everything like that. But we really appreciate it because we like you guys to come in so you can get to know us and kind of have an idea as to what the MAS dual credit program looks like. Because in some other schools, a student can be a C&M dual credit student, and then they just independently go by themselves and take whatever classes and stuff like that. But our system's just a little bit different because we like to accommodate it so that our students can get an associate's if they like, and even accommodate it with early release. So students, the more classes they take, the more they're allowed to leave, maybe just a little bit earlier, depending on what their parents think. If you want them to stay after 4th, we're going to get into all of this a little bit later, which is why we ask you guys to come in so that we can talk about it, so that you can also understand how we're helping out with creating your students' first, really positive college experience. That's really what we're trying to do. We're not trying to scare them away into the other direction. We want them to come, take a class, pass with a C or higher. We don't want anything less than a C because we want to make sure everybody's good to go and you feel really good about it. Okay. Do we have...
I might need your help.
So you go ahead, I'll pull up the PowerPoint, and if you want to just go up there and start talking. I'll find the PowerPoint.
All right. So what is dual credit? Dual credit is it's a government program. You can take it anywhere in the country. Any public university. The U.S. Department of Treasury or Education actually pays for it. So when you get to you graduate high school, you're going to fill out what's called the FAFSA, that is you're paying for, and you still get the same money that you got for dual credit. It just will go through your university or college instead of through MAS, or through CNM. So that's really cool. Explain that. We have students we have 2 students that will be one graduating this summer with an associate's, and then one next semester with an associate's. Pre-law. Anyway, so that's exciting. And then we had one student last year before last, who graduated with business associates, and it plugged directly into UNM's business school, Anderson School of Management. So that was really cool. So he started out his first year as a junior, which is really cool. We talked about.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you. So it's just a wonderful opportunity for you guys to actually get college out of the way, because your first 2 years of college are pretty much like your last 2 years of high school. You have your same core, and why is an associate's degree important? I know this is hard to see, but you guys have handouts in your packets with the slideshow on it. So if you want to take notes or write down questions or whatever you have, less than a high school diploma. Maybe around $40,000 for you for this study done in 2020 from the Census Bureau. Complete high school goes up to about 52. Some college 58. Now associates gets you to about 58.5. No, it's not. 61, almost $62,000. And then of course bachelor's degrees and get you up to 88 to be in one, master's degree and doctorate degree up into the 6 figures. So pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's great. So we like to kind of show the importance of college, which obviously we talk about all the time, because from here in kindergarten we have our cohorts named after our 4 or 5 different schools in state. So what is dual enrollment anyway? Dual credit is available throughout the country in every state. And in New Mexico, I think we have probably one of the best ones, because we make it super easy for a student to just kind of sign up and go to CNM and be able to do this. And so the dual credit program, what we try to do is we move them into it. We try to prepare them for any class, any place that they go that their credits will transfer. So when they go over to UNM, their English credit is there and their math credit is there. that's why we start with those first two classes. Students have to take college level English first or college level math. And after they finish that, we like them to take the other one first, just because those are the two requirements that they have for any associate's degree and any bachelor's at UNM or any of the other schools. So that's what we really do try to get them started on and to make sure that it's fully transferable.
I'm not going to go over Lexile scores because you've all seen them and you obviously have high Lexile scores. But you're in college.
So this is what we get asked the most questions about, and it makes sense because it's completely different, it's a little bit complex, and it's developed over the years, and it makes a lot of sense now. So raise your hand if you're ninth going into 10th grade. So these are all, yes? Okay, so we've got one freshman, two freshmen. Okay, just two freshmen, ninth going into 10th grade. Okay, so when you're ninth going into 10th grade, you took the Accuplacer and you passed the Accuplacer. And then the next step is in your fall semester, you're going to take your first college level class, and it has to be outside of MAS classes. That's just how the first one works. It's how obviously all of them work until we accommodate maybe early reviews, which we'll get into the timeline in a little bit. But for their first semester taking a college level class, they can only take one, and they have to take it outside of after 4 p.m. Once they successfully finish that with a C or higher, the next semester they can take one class again, or if they want, they can take two classes depending on department approval with Ms. Lucas and me and the other college counselors. And so then they can take two classes in the spring semester of their 10th grade year with possible early release, possible. Then when they're in their junior year, what's going to happen is they'll have their fall semester, look at student performance on CNM classes, look at student performance on CNM classes, and then decide maybe do they want to take 3 classes, 2 classes, and the way it works is for every college level class that your student's taking, except for this first semester that they have here with their first college level class where they take it outside, they are eligible for early release depending on 2 factors. One is, are their high school credits in line? They're also getting diplomas too, so we got to make sure their high school credits are online, are in line. So they'll have to see, depending on that, they might have to be here on campus a little longer. So maybe they'll want to just take one class at CNN, and then they get out at 2:40. Maybe that's what they want to do. They can do that if they would like to. Or if they have all the high school credits that they need and they don't have to take, 4 classes of high school here, if the counselors look at it and say, okay, you just need to take, physics, algebra here at MAS, and then we could potentially let you out 2 periods early because you still have your high school stuff if you're taking 2 CNM classes. And the thing I like to make parents aware of is when a student drops that CNM class, or maybe they decide that they don't want to take the class anymore, they're also dropped from early release. So that's the other thing. So if you get a phone call, that says, hey, your student has dropped from the class, now they have a full schedule at MAS, that's why. But looking into the next year, in this first semester, all students will be getting out after 2:40. So it's important as we register you for these classes for this fall semester that you pick a class that's, obviously since you're first timers, 4 p.m. or later. And then so that's kind of how it works. And then once you move into your senior, everybody has all sorts of different specialized plans. Because by the time we get here, we have students who've done really good. They've gotten straight A's. And we have 2 of our students, Angelo and Cosmo, are going to be coming in. They're getting their associates as seniors. So they're going to be going through the classrooms. We're going to have them talk to some of the sophomores and talk to some of the juniors about how they did it. And it was really that they had the support of everybody because they've constantly proven themselves. They've gotten A's and C's here at MAS. They've gotten A's and C's here at CNM. So they're working through the program perfectly to go on track to take as many of those classes. And that's exactly what Angelo and Cosimo did. And we can see, so now Angelo will be getting out after first period his senior year because he went through all of his credits. His high school credits are complete. But we're doing this tricky thing where we're not doing PE until spring of their senior year so that they're all covered in that regard.
Okay, so I think most of you have taken and passed at least one AccuPlacer. There's reading and math. If you haven't, passed them both, you do have to pass them both eventually. You can still take a class. Like if you take your reading and pass your reading, you can still take take an English class, and then later testing the math. You're all familiar with Khan Academy. You probably already have accounts where they're the official study materials. That's where the materials are kept for the College Board, who does the AccuPlacer. College Board actually also does the SAT, the SAT. We don't have AP classes, but they're in charge of all that. So it's a good place to study for those tests because sophomores will take the PSAT this year probably, and then juniors, you guys will take the SAT in the spring because it is a state test. So you can study the AccuPlacer materials, but I recommend studying the SAT because you're going to have to study that anyway, and the AccuPlacer is just a shorter version of the SAT. It was created for students who aren't able to go take an SAT or they're too young. So it's a good place to start. And we're not here, Ms. Baker and I are not here for the remainder of the summer, until 2 weeks before school starts. Ms. Lucas is here, so if you do want to come in and take an AccuPlacer, please make an appointment with her. I've also given handouts on how to take it at home on your computer, and then you can also go to the testing center at CNN. All right. And you'll get your results immediately. Most of you know this. Our study. All right.
Yeah, so now we have the difference between a bachelor's and an associate's degree. And this is kind of, sometimes can cause some confusion, but sometimes not. So the difference between a bachelor's and an associate's is that an associate's degree is about 20 classes right here. And then a bachelor's degree is about 40 different classes. So we can see with 20 classes, when we kind of break down that timeline and how that looks like depending on your student and progress and things like that, how a student could get 20 classes before they graduate here to get an associate's. But like I said, our major goal is to create a positive college experience where everybody's super happy and succeeding and doing great. And the reason is because we want you guys to just be super excited about the future so that you can have this 100% behind you and you know what you need to be doing. And there's so many components to getting there in terms of independence. I like how if anybody wants another planner that they have, if somebody didn't get a planner, I really want all of you to have a planner for sure, because this is just going to be really helpful to have to take your notes and to be organized. Because one of the things that we come across is time management. You're going to have to learn how to manage your time more, figure out, hey, this is when I'm going to do my homework, this is when I'm going to go to my part-time job, this is when I got to take care of my little brother, or whatever other responsibilities that you have in your life, because you have a bunch of different responsibilities, not just, going to take a CNM class and not just being a student. You also have people to watch in your life, and some of you have part-time jobs and things like this. And these are all components that you want to take into consideration when you take a CNM class. Because sometimes we've had students struggle because they have a part-time job and they're asking them, to come in at this time. And that's also where we're trying to help you guys learn how to communicate a little bit better. Communicate with your professors about an assignment that might not make sense. That's when we sit down with you guys and we say, get onto your email account. We really want to see, we want to help you write that email with your professor so that you get used to this. Because there'll be times when you're there and you're going to be really confused by what your professor needs, or maybe you're not, you guys are still young, 14, 15, 16. I want to help you learn how to write a letter to your professor, and that's what we're here to help with. So that gives you an idea, and then the biggest difference is that, a bachelor's academic and then an associate's degree is only 2 years. So associate's degrees tend to be like more career track. So, nursing, you can do a 2-year nursing associates and be a nurse. You can do 2-year welding, go into welding, or you can get, a 4-year degree in biology. You can go get, a job, of course, but it's just not as specialized as you would if you got like a 2-year degree at CNN in welding or electrician or something like that, or baking, to go right into your career path. So that's really one of the big differences between them. like I said, we're hitting the core requirements. I think we touched on this a little bit before, but you know, we just need that you guys take your college level English and your college level math first, because that covers all the requirements in your associates and also your bachelor's program. And like I said, all of the classes that we put them into are in their degree path and are transferable to the public institutions in New Mexico, CNM, UNM, all those places. Yeah, and here's just some examples. We got culinary arts for a 2-year associates, office admin, computer science. Computer science is a really good one. When people get the associates in computer science, they're already out there working in IT constantly. It's a really great career track. Paralegal studies, nutrition. So these are just some of those examples for associate's degrees.
And there's a comprehensive list in your packet, and then of course it's on the website. Okay, grades matter. So as Ms. Baker said, we'd like for you guys to keep a C or better. Grades at, well, grade point average, you guys know what your grade point average is? Maybe? It should be on your last report card. If you're in the like 3.2, 3.5 range, you're going to get scholarships, so that's good. So it's important that you guys keep your grades up. I know it didn't matter in middle school, then you come as a 9th grader, and all of a sudden grades are just so important. One way you can get your grades up is to take more senior classes. What's worth an A here at MAS is worth 4 points. At CNM, it's worth 4 1/4 points. So you're gaining an extra quarter grade point when you take those classes. So that's pretty cool. Your transcript is going to have all of your grades on it, 9th through 12th, and your CNM grades.
I just wanted to say, I know I have some juniors in here, so I'm super excited that you're here, because the interesting thing about juniors is that's actually the biggest year in terms of your high school GPA. That's the most important year for your high school classes. That's the other reason we really like parents to come in, because not only are they a CNM student, but they're still getting their high school diploma on top of it. So I just want to make a note that juniors, you guys are going into a big year, so make sure this is the year where you get your GPA up really high, you get straight A's on all of your classes, because when you guys come back in the fall, that's when we send out transcripts to colleges. It's right when we walk into the fall semester. That's when we're going to start identifying. So I just want to throw that out there. It's a really big year for you juniors, so make sure you do great in your classes this year.
Absolutely. Oops. So we have some expectations, of course, and parents. We want the kids to be accountable to you too. We set up meetings each week with students for at least 15 minutes a week and go over their grades. The reason we do this, of course, is to make sure that they're successful, but also it's kind of hard to figure out the grading system. It's not like your normal ABC. You've got a number of points that the instructor assigns to the class, so it might be 1,100 points for the whole class. Well, what does it mean when you have accumulated 300 points midway through the semester? So we can help you figure those things out. We can help you with Brightspace, which is the interface that CNM uses for their classes, kind of like Google Classroom. Your assignments are there, you should have a calendar, things like that, and grades. So we asked on Thursdays by noon that the students send us a picture of their grades to cnmgrades@gmail.com. You can also, it's a good one to remember, if you have questions and things like that, you can give it to us that way as well. And then we have study groups kind of set up where we can spend 30 minutes at a time. We're trying to keep you guys in clusters, so in the same classes, the same instructors, so you have the same due dates and you can kind of work through it together. So we're trying to promote that. And then, it's important to know the CNM schedule is not like ours. They do not have a spring break. So when we're off for spring break, you still have to go to your CNM classes. And then, and if you don't make your first 2 weeks of classes and don't finish your grades 3 times, we do have the option to drop you from the class, because if you do not pass the class successfully, if you get an F, or what they call a W, which is a withdrawal,
It means you haven't successfully completed the class, and if you don't successfully complete at least 2/3 of your class, it affects your financial aid. You cannot get financial aid until you follow certain steps to get it back and prove that you can do it. So we never want that to happen. Financial aid's important.
And the reason that we track the grades is because not because we don't think you guys can do it. It's because, like I said, we're here to help you guys have a positive college experience, which is what it's about. And so the first 2 weeks of those classes are really, really important. That's going to be the time that we're going to be trying to track you down, ask you what your grades are, ask you how classes are, what are your professors like, are you feeling good about it? And the thing that's really important for you guys is that every Thursday you send your grades, like a screenshot of your grades or the papers that you've had that have been graded, and you send them to cnmgrades@gmail.com weekly. And we check on that to make sure. And in the first 2 weeks, that's going to be your first 2 grade sends. And if we don't have a grade send on the second week that Thursday, when we come in on Friday, we still don't have a grade report. Then we're going to come sit down with you and have a talk, like, hey, how are you? Are you okay? We noticed that you have trouble getting these emails with the grades, so the class is okay. And depending on how they feel, we might say, hey, let's maybe we should try this next semester. And in that 2-week frame, when we drop it, they won't get a W, they won't get an F, it leaves their transcript, it's like it never happened. And so the reason that we track them really hard in the beginning, like that, in the first 2 weeks, is because we want to make sure they're ready. And if we don't get those 2 emails with the grades that we have, then, and we see after that, 2 weeks, we still don't have any updates as to where you're at, we're going to say, hey, first, we just want to make sure that you were able to send this, and if you couldn't, we understand. Maybe next semester might be a better time for us to start, because something might be going on there that we need to work through. It went off, I don't know why.
Oh, that was the last one.
Oh, okay, great. So we can move into dual credit orientation.
I think all of you need to take orientation. So if you would, log into the Chromebooks.
Just trying to reset. All right, so when you get to cnm.edu, you just type in your dual credit orientation. And I'm going to press enter. And this might be one of those holds that you get on your account. And so that's why, you have to take this or they won't let you. So, Jimena, I could do yours if you would like, because I need a real CNM ID enabled to go through it. Do you want to do that? I could go through your orientation with us as a group. I would just need you don't have your ID number though yet, do you?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you have yours, don't you, sweetie?
Yeah.
What's your ID number? Because we could just go by that. Is it S or Z?
Z.
Okay, what's your ID number? 6601066295. And your birthday? 2007? Perfect. All right, so we got in. I see a couple of you guys are able to get in, which is great. I'm going to go through the orientation slowly. Some of you might experience this. I saw some student before, but what we had to do was refresh it. So we're just going to try again, okay? We're going to try again real quick. Because it can be a little finicky. Because it does go through the database and check to see that the numbers are correct. And it did this on the last one, but it just worked right after. We'll see. Maybe it'll work again right after. Because that's what it did with Valentina's too. Yeah, it did the same thing. All right. So we're going into these steps here to talk a little bit more about CNM. So we talked about a lot of this, so I'm going to kind of breeze through this and discuss maybe just the main points that could be helpful as we go into it. And then we're going to go through the orientation quiz so that you know all the answers and that we feel like we've answered a lot of different questions about this. This gives us some information. All right. So there's 7 campuses. So if your student is if you guys live on the west side and it's easier to take a west side campus, you can do that as well. Because there's 7 different campuses that your student can take a class on, a dual credit class on. There's 6 academic schools that they have. In the folder, I'm going to show you guys all the things in the folder. There's also all of the programs that they have in CNM are also in that folder, and we're going to go over that too. Over 100 associate programs. Tuition is free. And we cover all of the course fees here at MAS. We always make sure we've never had a student have to pay for a textbook. We cover the cost of textbooks as well. But this is an important one, I think, which is your responsibilities as a college student. So what are your plans after high school? Kind of starting to think about that. What are your career goals? Registering for classes, talking with me and Miss Boltwood and Miss Lucas. Managing your time. Time management is huge. Like we were discussing a little bit. It even says here, so it's not just me talking about time management. It's even CNM, the dual credit orientation, talking about it because it's a huge deal and it's something that we see a lot. Make sure that you're checking your CNM email and the text messages that they're sending you. And so I just thought that was a pretty important component of this orientation that they talk about. FERPA, this is important because one of your students, if any of our students here can log into their CNM account. I'll show you that in a second. We don't log in to student accounts without your student. I think that's an important thing for everybody to know. Your student has to be there right with us, or they can call us over the phone and we can walk them through it. Because we're not allowed to look in their account. It's illegal for us to look in their account. And so because of that, we do have to work side by side with them when we're in their CNM account, or when we're enrolling them for a class, just so that all of this stuff is taken care of and you don't have to worry about maybe they randomly get put into a class. How did that happen, right? Well, just so you know, we can't get into the accounts at all. And we're going to show students, I think some of you have your username and password, so you can log in and we can see how there's that verification for that there. But that's just something to know. And we talked about it, your grades, your CNM grades are mixed with your high school grades. So the GPA that you have is mixed with your high school grades. So that's a really interesting thing that I've seen happen is I'll have students who get all A's, right? And then they're really gung-ho about college too. And I think everybody has your own balance that works for you. And if your balance is, I take one class, I was good, I got an A, okay, maybe that's what it is. Or maybe it's that I want to get an associate's. The most important thing to note is, it will affect your high school transcript. So say you have a 4.0 with all your high school classes here, and you go over to CNM and you get all C's. That's all going to merge together and it's going to drop your GPA. So if you had a 4.0 in all your MAS classes and then a 2.0 in all of your CNM classes, right? When they merge that together, you'll have a 3.0, which is good. But between the two, it's important to balance it because you want to make sure that you get that A in that college level class, and and that's put into your high school GPA. Because that number that gets sent to UNM and all the schools that you're going to apply to determines how much money they give you. And I really dislike the term, like, you're a number and this is what determines it. But that's what it is. So we also need to be very careful that your cumulative GPA is super high as you walk into it. So yeah, you could take a bunch of college classes and get a bunch of C's, but that will affect your GPA for college as well. There's all sorts of these different components associated with it. This is kind of a weird one now. I'll scroll through it because it does this weird thing. If you want to take, let's see here. Low credit models. And then they have a lot of really great student services at CNM. They have the libraries and computer labs. So with their CNM username and password, they can go into any of these computer labs at CNM, and they also offer free printing, which, like, I used to work at the public library, and they charge, and I still go to the public library, and I think it's still 10 cents a page to print there. But with your CNM username and password, you can go on campus, and you can print and do all sorts of things. They have iPads and laptops for checkout, and just a really great place to study, just a quiet space to study. And then they also have tutoring, which is really great. And I used to be a tutor at CNM where you just walk in, you just have your CNM ID number, you type in your ID number, and then someone will sit down with you. You don't need an appointment or anything. You can just sit down, and somebody who's really good at math, really good at English comes and sits down and helps you write through your paper, make sure it looks good, and they also help you through any math equations that you might be having difficulty with. And this is incredibly huge benefit because it was really interesting to me because there were a lot of retirees who were tutors there who had worked at like Sandia Labs for 25 years, and they were just there having fun and just wanted to tutor students with college, you know. So you get really, really talented people. Some of them are incredibly talented that help with the tutoring. So when you guys come to me and you say, hey, Ms. Maker, help me with this math, well, I know my friends who are tutoring at CNM, like there's some really good tutors there, and that's not my specialty. But we're also trying to get you guys used to depending on the resources at CNM. Because once you manage and you see all the stuff that they can use to help you, it's going to be a lot easier for you to navigate it alone once you get there. And like I said, you guys will have to go through all of this anyway when you do your orientation, so look at it as you may. Your CNM account. This is like a big reason we wanted parents to come in today so we could sign into your CNM account, but I know a lot of us are at this point where it's like some of you don't know your ID number, some of you don't know your email, and that's a perfectly fine place to be as well. Because in the packet that we gave you, we also have the checklist that we should have right now. This one is an old one. But we have a checklist that's just like this. It should be at the top of your packet right here. And Miss Lucas's information is down here. What do I mean by that? So if you don't have your CNM ID number or you don't have your CNM email, there's a number up here that you're going to call. This is to the CNM ITS Help Desk service line. And just with your name and your birthday, they'll be able to tell you what your CNM ID and email are. And that is how you log into CNM. I urge all of the parents here to make sure they get their CNM username and password, and you watch them log in at least once. Because in the CNM ID portal is where you're going to find all of this information, which is how they register for your class, where you can look up their course that they're taking, and maybe their grade report as well. So like your student, you can say, hey, take me to your grade report at any time. They can log you in, they can take you to that section, say this is where my grades are at, Mom, this is where my grades are at, Grandma. You know what I mean? So that you can look at it. Students, you need to check your CNM email daily. So that's one reason for that. And we'll be looking over all of this too towards the end so that things make sense for everybody. Brightspace account, which is where they do that's where they put those grade reports at. And some instructors don't put any grades on them because all instructors are different, just like all students are different. So it's just interesting sometimes how that'll work, because you might go in and be like, where are all your grades? Like we do with the students. And then they explain to us, well, no, my instructor has never put any of the grades up. And some professors do that. And like I said, this is the orientation that you're going to have to go through and take the test at the end. I'm just breezing through it. We're going to go over the orientation quiz, so later when you're ready to take the quiz, you can. But, I urge you to look through this and just kind of check out some of the points about it that they're trying to make about Brightspace, because that's where you go in to log in. But like I said, I think one of the most important things is just knowing that your student knows their email and their password and how they can log into the account. So if you as a parent are wondering, hey, where are you guys at with this? Well, show me. Log me into your account. Show me what work you're doing. What's going on with that? So that we can all help them. Textbooks, we cover the cost of textbooks. So we distribute textbooks and we purchase them for the students here. C&M ID card. They can get a C&M ID card, which is great because then you can actually use that for all of the student discounts that they have all sorts of places. So once you get that, you get a student discount everywhere too. And the first one is free. It's a free ID that they give. Okay, and then we can just go over. Alrighty, so the grade, yeah, you want to do it? Yeah, go for it. You can do this part.
All right, so the grades you earn in a dual credit course will permanently impact which of the following? Your college transcript, your GPA, financial aid eligibility, high school GPA, all of the above. What y'all think? All of the above, yes. Which of the following is not one of the 10 habits of a successful student? Ask questions, be curious, arrive late to class, utilize C&M's resources, treat all communication professionally. Which one of those should you not do? Arrive late to class. If you are going to be late, you should probably email your professor. C&M is authorized to share your grades, class schedules, and other information with your parents. True or false? False. How do you add or drop classes to your course schedule? Ask a friend. Through my C&M account, my C&M account, I'm having a hard time reading that one. My counselor does it for me, or it happens automatically. What do y'all think? B. How often should you check your email? Daily, weekly, twice a day, once a month? Never. Daily. Someone paid attention. I need a C&M parking permit to park on campus. Yes or no? I don't know if we covered that, but you do. I think we decided they're about $10. So, as a C&M student, you're required to read the Student Code of Conduct. Yes. What can happen if you do poorly in your dual credit course? I can receive a poor grade on my transcript. It can hinder my ability to graduate. Yes, I can lose eligibility for future financial aid, or all of the above. Correct. Which of the following resources are available to you as a dual credit student? Free of charge. Connect services, library access, tutoring services, computer lab access, or all of the above. Correct. Always speak to a blank before dropping a course. A high school counselor, an academic coach, a course instructor, or all of the above. Your academic coach is someone at C&M that can assist you with your dual credit classes as well. So should you talk to all those people?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, we did.
Perfect. We're just going to go through the packet too that we handed
Oh,
everybody.
yes, of course.
So then I just want to go through the packet real quick, and then what we're going to do is we're going to try to log on to the CNM account. Like I said, some of you are probably still going to be maybe on the step where after this you're going to have to call ITS, get your username and password, and then you can log in. And when you get to that point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to call Miss Lucas and say, hey, I'm ready to go. Right, Miss Boltwood?
Yes. Correct.
So I have that all outlined here, and like I said, that'll be the phone number. Complete the CNM dual credit orientation. That's one of the checks on here. We just completed it for you, right? We're good. You're good. You can check that off. That's checked off. Apply to CNM. You've all already done that. All you need to do now is make sure you know your CNM ID number and your email, which, like I said, it says right here, you're going to call this phone number, 224-4357. You're going to tell them your first name, last name, and maybe your address or your birthday, and from there they'll be able to validate. What's going to happen next after you're able to log into your CNM account is there may possibly be some holds on your account. One of those holds could very well be the dual credit orientation, which would mean you have to go back, take this orientation we just took, and then it'll come off of your account. But now you have an idea of how to do it. That being said, does anybody here, can any of the students know how to sign into their CNM username with their CNM account? Anyone? Yeah? Joshua knows? Elijah. Oh yeah, Joshua's your brother. I know a little better. Sorry, Elijah. So Elijah, would you by chance sign into your CNM account so people can just see what it looks like? You can say no if it's not. Yeah? Okay? Yeah? Okay. And I'm sorry I mistaked you for my brother. Your brother. Sorry. All right. So go ahead and log on once it loads. So this is the portal that all of the students go to log into their CNM account. I'm currently one person, so let me get out. And Elijah so kindly said he would let me have him sign into his account. All right. Here you go, Elijah. And when I say, make sure, this is probably the most important thing I'd say as a parent, is just make sure you know how to see them log in, get into their portal, because that's going to be the best way to ask them what's going on with their class besides asking us and us trying to figure out everything that's going on. And it's got this two-step verification. Like I said, we don't have any access to get into your student's account. I like to show this where the student signs in themselves because they have to not only have the password, but they have to verify with their cell phone, by text message or calling. And that's really good for you guys to know as parents because, we're not enrolling your student unless they're there with us. We do not enroll students unless they're there with us and we're talking about it and we say, okay, Miss Lucas in the department said it's okay if you take this class, let's sign you up. So thank you, Elijah, thank you, sweetie. And so from here, what you're gonna do is if you get here to the registration tab, when you're in here, if you click registration status, we're gonna be able to see the holds, if there's any holds, on Elijah's account. And this is all stuff that we can walk you through over the phone, or like I said, Miss Lucas, when we call Miss Lucas. And when we get in here, we see two things. First, it looks like we need Elijah's dual credit form, consent form. You guys already finished that, right? Did you just sign it right there?
We had signed it previously, but
We took a big batch physically and dropped them off, and they didn't. We're trying to figure it out. I think they lost those, so we've had to retake a lot of them, but we're sending those in today, and those should be taken off. So if you hand it to me today, this afternoon, that's what I'm doing. I'm sending them out there electronically. I've had a lot more luck sending them electronically. Or you could take a picture of it as well, and you can email it to admissions@cnf.edu. But if you hand it to me today, I'm sending it to him today. So that's one of them. And then here's the other weird one. I have all these things on here where it asks for these things. Proof of address is one of these holds, which is take a picture of a piece of mail with the student's name and the address they used to develop their CNM application. So Elijah, this is one of those things that you have to do. You got to take a picture of a piece of mail with his name on it, and if he lives there. I know that can be interesting because they're minors, Miss Woolwood. Do they accept parent? Just
So
like
I
parents?
have parents go in, student, they go in, show their ID, and verify as the same members.
So you can also do it with your guardian name and just to verify parents. Okay. Yeah, and so all these other holds are on here too. Social security card. Sometimes it'll say social security card. Send a picture to admissions or proof of birthday. If they need a proof of birthday, you can send an official state ID or you can send a picture of your birth certificate and they'll take off that hold. And once all your holds have been removed, and once you send a picture of your address to admissions at cnm.edu, and I have it on here, call Miss Lucas and say, I'm ready to go, let's sign up. Maybe, you're confused about holds, call Miss Lucas anyway and say, hey, where am I at? Did the holds come off? How's that going? So that's kind of where it's all at. And now, since we've been talking nonstop, you guys have been so amazing, and thank you so much for that. What sort of questions can I answer for you about the MAS program with the CNM dual credit? It's a lot. It's just yes. Oh, you're just having trouble with your password. Yeah. Yeah. And we'll just be around to touch base with you guys and see that everything's going for you. You don't have to schedule it. You can just walk in. We're not busy in the summer, so I'll just walk in and tell them I'm in front and say, we're here to take the active place. What do you want to take here? Yeah, you gotta wait about 2 weeks.
If anyone needs their STARS ID, just let me know.
I see bigger than times as you want. That's what's weird about the active placer. So like you and I, if we just graduated from high, we were going to college and we wanted to take the active placer. We could only play once and then they put us in the reading class. Our kids, we like to get them all passed on the active placer stuff when they're college ready. They're all good to go, they just walk in, yeah. So it's easier to have time and yes, you find it? Yes, perfect. This one. Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah, please.
So what are the tokens?
Yeah. Before you go register, check out with Ms. Lucas if she wants to say hi.
So text me.
Oh, that's right. Cool. Well, I will send this right after this so that all of our
oh yeah, what?
Yeah, and that's where doing this to somebody else as well.
So
Let
don't
me
go to
know.
the links they started.
Let me turn on my computer and then I can see if we can do it from my. How's it going? Is that helpful?
Yes.